Shit my dad taught me. Welcome back, everybody. I've got a wonderful guest today. We've got Mr. Ryan Gallagher in studio today. How you doing today, Ryan?
Good. How about you guys?
It's good, man. It's a good day to be alive.
Yes, sir. We got a little segment that we start our shows with. With our help with a friend called ChatGPT, we do a little bio so that we can properly introduce our guest. And we never tell them before this because we want to go off the cuff. And then you tell me how ChatGPT did in properly introducing you to the show. So here goes. Ryan Gallagher is a Burlington-based firefighter, mental health advocate, and an endurance athlete. His personal journey of overcoming grief, addiction, and self-doubt has fueled his passion for breaking the stigma around mental health and substance abuse recovery.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty close,
yeah.
Right? So it goes on to say professional work. He's a firefighter currently serving with the city of Burlington. He's a mental health and recovery advocate. He uses his personal experiences to encourage open conversations about mental health and addiction. He's also a podcast host, and it might be former podcast host. Former, but that makes you the most qualified person on the show today. So congratulations. I remember that from a few years ago because he gave me the honor of being on his show. It was called The Mental Edge Lifestyle. Ryan at the time was putting out awesome content. He was discussing resilience, mental health, wellness, and it was great. He had a lot of good guests on there, but now he's a dad times two and a professional endurance athlete too, so ain't nobody got
I
time.
don't know about professional.
Yeah, well, ChatGPT thinks so. So with that note, man, I just I wanted to say welcome. When we open it up with that, it's always a cool thing because it's kind of, it should get you thinking about, oh yeah, I am that guy. Oh yeah, I did do that thing.
Thank God they missed this and that.
Right? Yep, that's right. So let's start at the beginning, man. Where were you born? Where'd you grow up?
Yeah. It didn't mention anything about great hair or being handsome. Okay. So
It actually
he has some work
said
to do, I guess.
Subscribe to the 13 OnlyFans accounts, though.
Yeah. No, so I actually was born in Toronto, but I moved when I was 2. So I grew up in Burlington.
Yeah.
So Burlington forever. It's actually, do you remember we worked at McDonald's?
I would say McDonald's, and I tried to think about it before we met today, dude. I think we were 15.
Like actually worked at McDonald's, or like Kamala Harris worked at
we
McDonald's?
worked at McDonald's
Yeah.
on Applebee.
Yeah.
Applebee.
One of us, if you're following along, one of us enjoyed eating the food more than the other. Can you guess?
Not the professional athlete.
It is not the professional endurance.
That was forever ago. Yeah, so Burlington kind of.
I remember that though,
I know,
vividly.
right?
I remember that. I still you get the fry smell some days.
Yeah,
I remember Lofty, Dave Loft.
Yep.
Shout out Lofty. We used to make these little bites, and we would take a chicken nugget. We'd wrap that bitch in bacon. We'd put pickles on top and bottom, and those were our sliders.
Oh yeah. You take the mac sauce and put it on your tray,
little
dip your
dips.
fries in it, right?
Mm.
Oh, those are the
Real
good old days.
Terrible decisions.
Yeah. So yeah, that's Burlington, and I worked at Fortino's down the street from that McDonald's forever. Yeah, and then I moved to Grimsby. We've been in Grimsby now, I want to say 8 years, maybe, but still work in Burlington. So I'm always here. It's an easy commute, 7 days a month, well, because we're working 24-hour shifts. So
yeah.
And thank you for that, man. Thank you for being a firefighter.
Oh yeah, it's the best.
Putting your life on the line every day.
Yeah, no problem. It's getting busier and busier in the city too. So
yeah, sure is.
It's good and bad, right? Keeps us busy, but there's a lot of people hurting. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we hear it, man. Every especially where we are downtown Burlington here, man. It's seems like every couple hours there's a truck going ripping by. So
yeah,
you boys are busy.
Oh, for sure.
And what's that lifestyle like? How's being a firefighter?
It's good, and that's originally the thought behind it was the lifestyle piece. Like, okay, I can work 7 days a month, and then it'll be good for when I have kids. And the dream was my wife has her own business and all that stuff, and then we can travel, do all that fun stuff. So it is good. It's really good. As I get older, I'm 41 now, so the sleep's starting to catch up with me a little bit, because that's obviously one of the most important pieces for your health. So the sleepless nights kind of catch up when you get home and you're on. Kids run up. They don't care if you're tired. It's like, Dad, let's do this, which is fine. So, but overall, it's good. There's a good group. We're building, like the crew I'm on currently. Like I've had some really good crews over the 10 years I've been there, and I was 5 years before that as a volunteer. So I've been in that service with Burlington 15 years. But the crew the last 2 years is exceptional. We're very close, so there's a really good bond. Do a lot of fun things. Like the other day, I was out with 2 of them. We went cold plunging and saunas. That was our afternoon when the kids are in school. It was perfect.
It's awesome.
So that piece, and then there's a hockey league I play in with everybody, all the guys and girls that play hockey on the department. So, and then I run a lot of the charity events within the union side, so the association side of the department. So I'm always busy with that. So we're always doing, we're going to start wellness walks, so mental health walks. We're going to get the department out walking, boot drives. So we're out front of businesses collecting money for whatever the charity is. Movember hockey. What else do we do? MD campouts, like on the top. We did a rooftop camp out pre-COVID actually on Joe Dogs for muscular dystrophy. Yeah. So constantly busy with that. So it pairs nicely for the stuff that I like to do. Like give back to the community from a charitable side, give back to the community like as a profession, and then the lifestyle side where I can just kind of get the kids to school, work out, whatever. So it's really good. Very rewarding.
A lot of firefighters go down the path of like almost a second career at the same time, right? But I guess with everything you've got going on, your second career is your health, your kids.
Like that's it. And that's the main focus. When I first started, like I'd go out and help people do the odd job here and there, fence. Like, cause I used to do all kinds of landscaping. I did landscaping for a while, built fences, decks, irrigation. And I worked for a moving company. That was one of the worst jobs I've ever had. So I do all that stuff. So the first year or two, I was like, it's a good way to meet guys too, if someone needs help with doing a roof or whatever. But I'm not handy. Like I could barely tie my own shoe. So I just kind of playing around with there. And I'm like, I'd rather just work out or do something. And at the time, probably drink. So
yeah. What's benevolent society? What's the title? Benevolent.
So I'm part of the benevolent committee.
Thank you.
Yeah. And so our union association is Local 1552. So it's just benevolent committee Local 1552.
Yeah.
And we just get involved with as much stuff. So we just had a golf tournament recently. And so we're starting to really gain some traction again, like filling up the bank account where we can turn around and give it out to charities that need it. So we give a lot of money every year, money in, money out. So our golf tournament was a huge success. Then that raised over $10,000 for the benevolent committee. And now I can turn around this year. Someone knocks on our door and says, hey, we need this. Hey, we need that. Compassion Society, food banks, whatever. Then
awesome.
We've got the money for it. So yeah, we're working on a few big things coming. So it should be cool.
Compassion Society is an amazing organization. We were just there 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. Awesome causes. And then you boys, I mean, you crush Movember, right? Is that probably the biggest thing you guys?
Movember's probably our biggest one. Yeah. I think because we started an online team, we sell hats and like within the department, and I wrapped a truck. I don't know if you ever saw the Movember truck. I wrapped.
Was it pink?
So I wrapped a breast cancer truck. We did it 1 year.
I saw that one.
The October month. And right after that, we did the black Movember truck.
Okay.
That was a huge hit. So we've taken a couple of years off that, but we had sponsors on it and everything. But the Movember campaigns, like I think the most we've done is 20,000 as our association. Yeah. And then the tournament associated with that, the hockey tournament. So this year will be our 8th annual Movember tournament. And it's just small. We just 8 teams because everyone likes 3 games, a final, and you stay in the same room all day, and departments love it. So like Oakville will come, St. Catharines, Toronto, Hamilton, Pickering, Ajax, us. So it's a huge hit.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and we've rotated a few teams through. Like Brantford came, they got in a huge fight, so they were banned for a year. They came back this year, they fought again, so they're gone again.
It's fine.
Like we're grown men.
Two of my best buddies. One's a captain in Brampton, the other one's in Toronto.
Brantford.
Oh, Brantford.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they're not coming back. They just keep fighting. But Toronto comes and they've got like 4,000 people to pick from, so they're just unreal. So it's good. It's really good, and there's some really good hockey within fire departments. Like there's ex-NHLers kicking around, guys that played in Europe.
Yeah.
Junior players. It's good.
A lot of them are like ex sports, like pro, semi-pro or pro sports guys.
Yeah. You guys all have that culture, man. That's the other cool thing about the guys you've introduced me to, or the guys that I've met through, some of the charity events we've both done. The level of fitness, the level of like self-care is amazing. Where do you think that comes from?
I I think a lot of it is because there is a lot of people that grew up playing sports. So there's that whole team aspect of it that kind of they bring to the table. And some of it you just get instilled, I think, growing up is just what you know, right? And something about the fire community or the fire job, you're just big, strong men and women. I think it attracts a lot of the fitness side of things, and we're only getting fitter. We're getting younger and fitter as a department, which is great. Like I'm getting older, but everybody else is getting younger.
What's so what drove you to be a fireman? Like where does that come from?
So when my father passed away when I was 16 years old, and he died in front of me. I gave him CPR, and he didn't make it. And I went through this like, okay, I'm 16. I gotta, be the man of the house. I had an older brother, but I need to be there for my mom. I need to, this whole alpha male mentality right away at 16. And so I started to think about careers that maybe would be in that realm of taking care and helping people. And fire always stood out to me. So obviously I had to wait till was old enough to start, doing courses and things like that. And so I just started picking away at courses and applying, and I got on as a volunteer. And that wasn't until I was like 24. So it was a huge gap where I was just doing like odd jobs. I went to school for broadcasting, and wasn't happy with it. And always in the back of my mind was firefighting. And I think it started from that day when my father passed away. And then at 24, I got hired as a volunteer, and I kept picking away at courses, building a resume. And then at 30, like the timeline's huge. And then at 30, I finally got hired. So I think a lot of it had to do with that, and just wanting to like give back. And I remember like that day and the firefighters coming and the medics coming. So that always stood out to me.
What did mom and dad do for work?
So my mom worked English as a second language. She was like the administrative assistant. She actually worked in Lord Elgin High School.
Oh yeah.
They had like a wing in that particular part of school. And then she was off, where was it? Harrington Court. So Harvester, the pond hockey is right there, that 3-on-3 rink. They were right around there, I believe. And then my dad worked at Kodak. So like Weston Road, like night shift.
Kodak.
Kind of stuff.
Yeah. That's a brand you haven't heard of in years.
Right? Yeah. So he was just night shifts, just driving back and forth to Toronto, pretty much. Yeah.
That's hard work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell us about your dad, man.
Yeah, my dad was a good dad. The memories I do have of him, always very involved in like the sport aspect. So my brother swam competitively for as long as I can remember, until he just got too tired, because it was like swim in the morning, swim at night, swim in the morning, swim at night. So he packed in around high school and then just joined the high school team just to have more fun with it. But my dad was the dad that was at every bingo. That was the thing they had to run for swimming, right? He was there all the time helping run the bingo stuff to raise money for the swim team. Every hockey party my dad was a part of, trying to like organize it, things like that. Every road hockey game that I'd play outside of my house for 4 hours on a Saturday, my dad would just stand on the driveway and watch, or go inside, come back out. We'd play catch, all those kind of things. So very sporty in that sense. And then his work ethic was fantastic. Again, working night shift. I don't think he ever missed a shift. Like those are the memories that I have. It was just like, and any extra money, I remember he would put away, and at least once, twice a year, we'd be having dinner, and he'd say, lift up your plates, and there'd be the extra money they made would be there for my brother. It's like, it's for you guys, like stuff like that. Those are the memories that I hold, because then there's also the other side of it where he smoked quite a bit. He loved to drink. So there's the other side of it too. So I hold the really good times with him very close, and there's bad times like anything. But he was fair. He was very fair. Like he never, you hear those, you got to walk home. You had a bad hockey game. It was always like, you didn't play well. Why do you think you didn't play well? Let's like talk about it. It was never like you're walking home, like that old school mentality. So he was always fair in that sense. So I think, and that's where I learned a lot of some of the parenting styles from my dad. And I try to leave the negative stuff that I didn't like about, because we all have something that we can, as we start to do the work and process our, I guess, childhood traumas and things like that, the things we don't want. So, but he was good. He was very fair and very hardworking, for sure.
Yeah, fair and hardworking is life. You got to be known for a couple things. It's funny too, listening to you, like, describe who he was. And I'm hearing like, big into sports. It's totally philanthropic. He's got 2 boys. He's got
Yeah.
like the parallels are crazy, right?
Yeah.
That's, so what do you remember? So he's obviously a great guy. He's a hardworking guy. He's a kind guy. Now fast forward, your kiddos are like 3 and
3 and 7.
Yeah. So what's that parenting style look like? How are you approaching that?
Oh, I have my wife, thank God, to help me a lot with this stuff. It's again, I try to be as fair as possible and kind of give them like that accountability on things, right? My 7-year-old swims on a swim team and he absolutely loves it. And there's days he doesn't want to go, like anything. So like little things that I remember my dad always talking me through those things. Like, why don't you want to go? You say you want to do these things, but in order to do these things and get better, you have to actually go do these things. So there's a lot of that on those days where I don't want to go, Dad. I don't want to go. Well, you just told me you want to go to the Olympics, buddy. So like, it's up to you. But there's no actual pressure when I say it. I know it sounds, but it's like, you decide, man. You're telling me one thing, so you got to either we don't do it or we do it. Like you make the choice. So try to do a lot of choice parenting, I guess. And then of course there's times where I falter a lot and I end up just yelling and screaming. And I leave the room frustrated and my wife has to be like, you need to go back. You need to make this right. I'm like, but he started it. Yeah. And it's like these are the stuff we have. It's so like it happened the other day. He doesn't want you to leave his room because he's anxious about something or he wants you to stay close because something happened today, but he's not ready to tell you. And he's 7, right? And I'm like, okay, well, why doesn't he just tell me then? Like, we're trying to create this safe space.
Or just toughen up.
Right? Or there's that. And I'm like, oh, okay. And so like, these are the conversations I have with my wife and I'm in the room and I'm like, you need to go to bed. And I leave and she's like, you need to go make that right. Go back. And I'm like, oh, but come on. 7.
Dad needs a win too once in a while.
Yeah. I'm doing the best I can. So there's a lot, like I joke, but like my wife, because her psych background is very good with the kids and working through feelings, but also like not being soft, like creating like that really fair balance that this is a safe place to talk. This is a safe place to do things. And you're going to mess up in life and we're going to hold you accountable for it. Right. And we're going to work through it as a family or whatever it is. And I think I get a lot of that from my dad because, again, he was very fair and hard at times. So the parenting is changing a little bit, I think, the styles, but there's some similarities there.
Yeah. What was your mom like?
My mom's my mom's very soft-spoken, very quiet. She'd sit in the stands when I'd play hockey or sports and just go. But all the other moms are yelling, but she's, go. Like everyone called her Sweet Anne. Anne Marie is her name, but she's very kind-hearted, very nice, and also, yeah, she is a good mom, and she never did remarry, which I wish she kind of moved on and stuff like that, but she just never could. So, but she's retired now. She's doing well. She's 75 now, but same thing. She worked hard, like snow days. Buses are snow days in the schools. The buses are canceled. Schools are open. She would too timid to drive. Let's say she would take the city bus. The city bus was running and the school buses weren't. Whatever. Like she was going. It was crazy. She did not miss days of work. Like there's sick days for a reason. So I remember that a lot because I'd always get on her like, don't go. Like, and it was Lord Elgin's where we lived at the time near McDonald's. Like we talked about. Yeah. She would just walk in the snow to work. Like stuff like that really stood out in terms of like, and now I look back and go, oh, work ethic. Okay. That makes sense. So.
Is your brother older or younger than you?
My brother's older.
Older.
Yeah. Yeah. He's 44.
So when your pops passed away, was he the one that had to step up big time or was it mom that really had to like step up?
Yeah, my mom kind of did.
Yeah.
Yeah. She did well. She did the best she could. And I think that's, again, about parenting and how I parent now is literally about just doing the best we can every day. Understanding we're going to make mistakes. It's how we show up after that mistake, what we do, how we approach it, and how we change the narrative, make it a positive, learn from the bad. all that stuff. So,
yeah. You guys talk to your kids about your dad? Like, how do you honor that legacy?
yeah. Miles, my oldest, he asks me a lot about Grandpa Peter. So I've been meaning to take him to the gravesite to talk about it. And Miles is a very bright boy. He's 7 and he reads at like a grade 6 level. And he's like doing grade 5 and 6 math books at home. Like he understands a lot of stuff, and he has a lot of interesting questions, and he's interested in like death. Like he asks about it. And I mean, I think most kids as they get to that age, they ask questions. So he asks a lot. And then Logan, who's 3, there's pictures in the house. So he'll sometimes point and say, "Oh, that's Grandpa Peter." Or he'll point at something and say, "Is that Grandpa Peter?" You know? So I try and tell more and more stories about him. I didn't for a long time. I was angry about it. I don't think, and I use the word, I don't think I grieved it properly. You lose your dad at 16 years old. Like, I remember mom saying, "Do you want to go talk to someone?" I was like, "No, why would I want to talk to somebody about my feelings? Like, that doesn't make sense." Little did I know, it makes perfect sense. Fast forward now at 41 years old. And I think over the last 2 years, probably I can safely say, like, I'm finally okay with him, like, being gone, if that makes sense. And it'll probably make sense to some people that have lost a loved one. So I was just so mad. 16 years old. There's so many things that I want to achieve in life that I want him to see, and he never got to see. And I want him to see my boys, never get to see them. So, and I think, and that's why it led me down to drink as much as I used to drink. So I'm 558 days sober now.
Congrats, man.
Yeah, thank you. And when I say do the work, like, I thought I did the work when my dad passed, and then I finally, decided to go talk to someone. That wasn't until about 30 years old. And that was seeing some stuff on the job that I think triggered some stuff and some memories from that day. And I finally started to put the pieces together, and I was in the worst shape of my life early on in my career. And I was drinking the most I'd ever drank, partying the most, and just being angry more so. And then I went through no drinking for a year, no drinking for 6 months, did all kinds of stuff with a naturopath, and slowly started to like rebuild my body, but I was still drinking all the time. But I thought I was doing the work. I was talking to therapists, and I was always trying to get the therapist to tell me, "Oh, you don't have a drinking problem," because I wouldn't tell them how much I drank or whatever, right? And it was really, truly that I just didn't process or grieve that loss properly. And I was so angry about it. And then the last 2 years, I've truly done the work. And by doing the work, I had to get rid of the alcohol and feel every possible emotion you can. Because it's a lonely place when you stop drinking or when you stop using, whatever it is you're doing. And I can speak to that from experience. It was a lonely place, and I had to feel everything, every possible emotion, because I had nothing else. Right. So when I would have those days where I think about my dad, I didn't have a beer to numb it. Right. I'd have those bad days with my kids where I get frustrated or whatever it is. I didn't have anything at the end of the day to just, okay, tomorrow's a new day. I had to feel it, own it, work through it, learn from it, move on. Right. So sit in it, as I like to say. Was a hard one.
Was there like an aha moment that triggered that breakage or that stopping point?
Stopping point of drinking?
Yeah.
I think most people will probably tell you the same thing. It was never one. It was like just a combination of numerous things over time. And you honestly, truly, and I would hear all these sayings, and I'd watch all these mindset things. And I was always a big mindset guy. I was always into journaling, meditating, working out, 5 a.m, cold plunges, all that stuff. And again, doing the work, but I wasn't doing the work because I still had alcohol in my life. So there wasn't like one point. It literally got to the point where I was just sick and tired of being sick and tired. If that makes any sense. I got sick and tired of saying all these things and then not doing any of them, like full potential. Right? Do all this charity work, do all this giving back, do all of this, but then still battling all these demons or whatever I had going on.
Which is a blessing, right? Because like,
for sure,
our last cast, for instance, like sometimes there is that like super shitty moment that something happens or something's collapsing pretty bad because of it, and it forces you to have to make that decision, right? So like thankfully you didn't get to that point. Like
Yeah.
you thought through that process and decided you wanted to.
Yeah. Yeah. And it took a long time. And it was just whatever, could have been this thing after thing after thing. And it just adds up and adds up. And then eventually you just go, I'm just so unhappy. And it could be, for everyone's different. It could be you're putting in all this work, you're doing all this training, you're not seeing any results because you can't follow through on anything. You're 235 pounds walking around when you should be 190 pounds, like diced because of the work you do, but you can't stop drinking or whatever it is. Like I'm just using, I don't want to use body imaging or anything like that, but that was part of it too. I take off my shirt and aesthetically, I'm like, oh my God, no, this isn't okay. You're working, you're putting in this work and you're trying to do all these good things and you don't look good. You're tired. You're not showing up properly for your family. Like, so it became that, just the whole just not showing up properly.
Right.
You're half into it, right? You're half parenting, you're half listening, you're half because you just want to get to a drink.
Yeah.
That day, that night. So it was but that was a long road. Like that was when I first started to be like, oh, maybe I have a problem. Like I'm talking like 11, 12 years when I first started to be like, oh, that's weird. So that was a really tough time.
That self-awareness piece is so huge. And it's so hard. Like just to say, yeah, I'm not showing up the way I should. I don't like this. I don't whatever. There's so many people that we talk to and myself included where you make these little sacrifices, you find little ways to justify and you just kind of keep swimming, right? But like at some point, and then so you get to that point. Do you have any tools, any tricks, anything that you liked that helped you achieve sobriety that you can share?
Yeah. So, and actually, we talked off the air. You mentioned tribe. I found people. So, I went to AA originally. Let me start with that. And I'm actually thinking about going back because at first I didn't think it was for me. I went a few times and it was helpful in the sense like you hear people talk about their experiences and everybody's different. So, there's some people in there that have gone pretty far. Like there's some really bad things. So you sit there and go, oh, no, it's not me. Thank goodness. So there's that piece, right? That's that self-awareness. Okay, didn't get to that point. So that to me was very helpful. As sad as that is for other people, which I understand, it was like, okay, I don't want to get to there. So that was good. But then I did a lot of talk therapy with an addiction professional who I started to check in with quite a bit because again, I didn't think AA was for me, but I know I needed something. Then I started running and that changed everything. That's how, like, which we'll talk about later, running was a huge tool for me in this. And I talked about that loneliness piece early on in sobriety and running, you're by yourself, long runs. I found myself just breaking down a lot. I would just go into this headspace and a song comes on that reminds you of a loved one. A song comes on, reminds you of whatever it is, those dark, bad days. And I found myself breaking down a lot on these 20-kilometer, 25-kilometer runs. Like it was crazy. I was like, oh, maybe I've found something. And then through that, I just started the talk therapy, the running. And then I started to be more open about my dad passing and what it did to me, and more open about struggling with alcohol. And then I found people, that tribe, that circle, that started to reach out and say, hey, maybe I have a problem too. Or, hey, what you're saying matters. And this makes sense to me. And I want to be around you, like that kind of stuff. So I formed a really good group of people. So I found that helpful. But I still do want to go back to AA. And I don't know why. I'm very drawn back to it for something. And maybe it is because it served its purpose the first few times, and then I found other outlets. But hearing those stories and those like-minded kind of individuals who are experiencing things, I feel like I could help them because you're going in there,
100%.
and I'll be 2 years, soon. You're going in there, and someone's going in on their very first day. So I think there's a piece there that.
Well, it's so as a guy who's been to a lot, I can tell you that when you don't relate to the person across the table because it is, perceived as so much worse or it's such a different journey than yours, sometimes it's having a guy like you across the table where it goes, oh shit, that is a guy with a career, a guy with kids, a guy with a wife. Oh,
Yeah.
I can relate to that. Like, and that could be the momentum. And we do our mental health. Well, specifically, Capillary does their mental health open nights here and their group nights here. You see that happen in real time. So my encouragement to you is, if you're feeling like it, do it, man, because you don't know what that calling is, right? That calling might be, you might be at a point where you'd be a game changer for somebody, a mentor, a friend.
You might just be inspiring the guy that's there on his first day to keep wanting to come back because he knows your story, right?
Yeah, and it's true. And there's something to be said, right, about sharing your story. And it's up to people how much they want to share. And, you share it, don't jam it down people's throat, But if you just give little tidbits here and there, like someone's going to turn around one day and be like, hey, I heard you on a podcast, or I heard you talking to so-and-so. And that's what I'm finding more and more is happening. And I'm a member of our peer support team that in the process of changing some things around within the department. And I started that early on. I was a part of that. But again, I was trying to do all this work, but I was missing the mark for myself. And now, having really put it in and starting to be okay with myself, I'm excited to kind of push forward and really push more mental awareness within the department and resilience and stuff like that. And that all starts with just being okay with who I am now and having flaws, not being a people pleaser. That's a hard one. I used to be a people pleaser for sure. And it'd be the life of the party. Everyone's going, we're going to this, right? And all that. And now I'm just okay with just being myself.
Did your friends group kind of change at all, or
Oh,
or
yeah.
not really? It
Big
did,
time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Big time. That changes for sure. Do you ever really sat down and been like, who are my true friends? Who are my friends that I just have beers with? And then when you remove the beers, what do you actually talk about? Right? That's just the reality of it. I have this conversation with some of my now buddies, and they're like, oh yeah, I don't actually really talk to this person. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. We all have different trajectories in life that we're going on. And I think there's people in your life that are there for a reason. And your true friends, I think, I still keep in touch with some people from high school, but I find that your friend group gets smaller as you get older and you really start to find the people that really care about you. So
they just become acquaintances and
yeah. That's
talking,
my experience.
For sure. Yeah, we had one conversation on here where the parallel was brought up that it's kind of seasonal. It's kind of like chapters as you go through, because what motivates you at 41 is different than 30. I guarantee it.
Oh yeah.
You throw kids into the mix, marriage, business, you throw all that in, you're having different conversations a decade later. It's just what it is. So it's natural that those things would change. What I've seen, and I hope we can help in some way with all this, is when those things change and when those seasons change, you got to find the next tribe. Like, you have to.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't find that peer group or friends that you can, really talk to and really share goals and share dreams, then you put yourself in a silo. And then you want to, then what are you doing it for, right? And then mental health is a constant battle. But you need that peer group, man.
Yeah.
And when you're going through it too. So the mental health side, fast forward to today, what are the kind of conversations you're having with the peer group now? What's the next goal? What's the next, what's your trajectory now?
I think now it's to keep spreading awareness. So you had mentioned in your wonderful Chat GPT intro, the podcast I had, and I did stop that. I had that Mental Edge Lifestyle podcast. It was 2 years I did it for. I don't even know how many guests I had on, but I had Olympians on.
Yeah.
I had some Michael Landsberg from TSN. I had some pretty Theo Fleury, NHL player, some big names on there. But again, I wasn't in the right headspace. I was still trying to do the work on myself. So I was trying to do it to learn more about myself, learn more about others. Yeah. And then fast forward, and then I went back to school. I did professional addiction studies at McMaster. And I did that was a 2-year diploma program. And I did that to learn more about what I assumed was addiction that I had, but I still wasn't ready to who goes to school for 2 years and pays a bunch of money to see if they have an addiction? It's so crazy in my head as I say it out loud. I'm but I learned a lot. And then I was like, oh, okay, there's something here. So I'm slowly piecing all these things together, and I don't regret them happening. Just like all the stuff that's failures in your life, you don't regret it. learn from it, move forward. So, transitioning to this peer role, helping the peer team, it's just allowing me to build more of a skill set and allow me to talk about it with more confidence in hopes that somebody is going to hear it and go, oh, that's me. Oh, I get what he's saying.
Yeah.
I can do this too. I should reach out to him. Like, that's really the end goal. I think through all of this now is learning from all of my stuff and hopefully being able to give back, because again, there was people there for me that saw these things happening and tried to step in, and I said no. And then the last 2-3 years have really stepped up. So it's about giving back and showing them like, hey, you helped me, I'm going to help the next person.
Yeah.
So the next thing on my plate will be the running challenge that I'm doing.
Yeah. You got to talk about it, man. I've been following along. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So I decided, and there's not many people like documented that have done something. Like, I look up like 21. So I'm doing 21 half marathons over 21 straight days. So 21 kilometers a day, and this 21K straight per day, 21 straight days for $21,000. The goal is to raise $21,000 for Passstone Mental Health, which is a facility in Niagara, because I'm in the Niagara region now. And they serve youth 18 and under. They have all kinds of workshops for like adults as well, and youth workshops. They offer talk therapy. They offer pet programs like pet therapy and stuff, where they'll bring in like a dog into like a facility for kids and stuff like that. And then they offer like a peer mentoring program. And there's a few other programs. There's an art program as well, where all the money will go towards buying like art supplies for kids that can come in and draw and color and like put their feelings on paper. So actually the program that I'm going to put all the money towards is that peer mentorship program. And that's something as simple as they have mentors come in and take kids to the movies, take kids for ice cream, and just have conversations with them. So I'm hoping to raise money for that specifically. So the goal will be 21,000 and sticking with the 21,000 or the 21 theme. So September 21st to October 18th, I'm going to run 21 half marathons, 21 straight days. So there'll be more info coming. Like, I'm designing the routes. I'm going to do flat routes, decent pace, and see how much money I can raise. So there'll be a donation page that's going to go up February 3rd, I believe. Passstone's putting that together. I got posters coming with like barcode scanners I'm going to put up in local businesses. And I've got a bunch of businesses on board, currently doing a bunch of giveaways with them so far, like just little small giveaways on Instagram to grow my Ryan Runs 21 page. So we got like almost 250 followers. I'm just doing this all organically. It's all just me. Something comes into my mind, I throw a video up of me being silly. Something silly, mental health fact, some training, and hopefully just keeping it light and getting some traction. So when the donation page comes up, then people will donate. And then come September, while I train, I keep asking people to come out and run with me. And then through the 21s, I'm hoping people will come. You can ride your bike, you can walk. You don't have to do the full 21. You can do 2 kilometers, 5 kilometers.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So it gets people out to deal with their own mental health.
Exactly. Then that's the whole point.
That's
and
awesome.
I'm going to design it. I got to talk to a bunch of the schools in Niagara, but I want to run by the schools, have the kids come out, cheer me on kind of thing. I got one of the days, I've got 3 Olympians that are going to come out and run with me, that I know. One of them I work with, and 2 of them I'm now friends with. My buddy who does powerlifting competitions, his gym is on board. So we're going to get these guys that like squat 1,000 pounds to come out, run a kilometer. We're hoping to get 21 of them, so they'll each do a kilometer. Like, these are big strengths. No, they're out in Niagara way.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. These are big dudes. So, and so I'm hoping that'll take, like, that'll be a fun one. So we're just slowly promoting that. And it's early on. I'm only a month into this thing. I just got, Passstone joined the Chamber of Commerce in Niagara recently. So I can go in and have access to a bunch of businesses and start talking about my own story and what I'm trying to do, in hopes that they'll do something of a giveaway or they'll donate. Like, I'm looking for businesses to match donations, because that's where it's really going to hit.
Well,
right?
You're in the city of Burlington. You're a firefighter here. Like, we've got a lot of pull with the guys at the Chamber of Commerce, and because of the Burlington dads, like, we'll get you in front of the Chamber of Commerce at one of their events to be able to give like a 2-3 minute thing for sure.
Yeah, I appreciate
There's
that. Any
100% chance we can get that done.
Yeah, because again, I say I'm out in Niagara doing it for Niagara based, but I'm hoping, because my roots are here, people will catch wind and donate, and businesses will get on board. And so yeah, I'm doing all kinds of giveaways. It's going to be good. And it's just something I thought of, um, again through my own struggles, and I see a lot of stuff in my young kids already that like they have the good and bad of both parents, right? You see that in your kids, you're like,
Always.
oh, that's
Yep.
probably learned that from me. So I just want them to understand like it's okay to struggle. It's okay. You're safe, but you got to work through it. You got to be resilient. You got to find the right coping skills to push through those hard times and learn from it. And so that's where I came up with the challenge. Like, I'm like, okay, I'm going to do 21. Originally, it was 30 marathons in 30 days. And I'm like, oh, that'll just grind my body down, because the other piece on top of this is I told my wife, like, first and foremost, it can't affect our family. Like, I have to be functioning. I'm going to run these 21 and then recover. And then I'm a dad. Like, each day they're in school, get the run done. They get home. I'm a dad. So that's the big piece in all of this too. And so I don't showcase them on Instagram, on my Instagram page. It's just me for that. I don't put them on there on that account. I'm just trying to be as real as possible on that. And so far it's going pretty well. So that's what I've come up with. And like I said, I don't think there's many people that have run. I mean, there's some pretty cool stuff that's been done though. And I've connected with some pretty neat people. There's a guy that's running across the US I connected with. He's doing that in 2026. There's two guys. One guy just finished running across Canada last summer. There's another guy about to do it. Like, there's some pretty, very, very cool people. When you put yourself out there, you find some really great things and great people.
When you're training right now, then, like, on an average day, when you either go to the gym or you're running outside, like, how far would you run, like, today? Like, just as an average day to go train? And
Yeah. So right now I'm training for around the bay. So my training is a bit different, but like, just I'll give you an example. So there's 3 full body weight days I do. That way my body's like not taxed. I can do a full body, take a day, full body, take a day, full body, or whatever. And I work things around my kids' schedules. So then I'll do a Sunday long run, or Monday, depending on my kids. So I did 22K on Sunday, and then I did 10K Tuesday, 5K speed work on Wednesday, and I did 4K today. So there's always like a long run that'll vary now as I'm progressing further.
yeah,
And that'll look like anything from 16 to 25, 26. The short runs will be 3 to 4K, and then speed work around a track, let's say, a couple kilometers. Hill work will vary 4 to 6 kilometers.
so I guess like
Changes.
a month before, you kind of want to be at the point where, like, you could probably test it out and go like 4 or 5 days in a row of doing that 21, just to like see the toll it might take on your body.
So my training plan for the 21s is I'm basically going to be running morning and night. So I'll wake up. My first week of training for this will start in May, like the true training for what I'm doing in September. And it's a week of morning 6 kilometers, night 6 kilometers.
Okay.
So I'm fatiguing like in the morning, and then I go at it at night. Next morning, same thing. And I'm just tricking the body into just consistently adding mileage. And it's more time on your feet, right? And then the last 2 weeks are 21K a day, 5 days straight for 2 weeks. And the last 3 weeks, because then I'll taper, I'll modify the last week kind of thing and rest.
Yeah.
So it gets up there.
That's a
I
lot.
actually was looking at today. I'm working with a nutritionist who's donating her time to me we're going to slowly do a lot of carb cycling and carb work as I progress through this, because the gut needs to be ready for this, because I don't want to go into this and just eat pizza every night and ice cream every night. Like, I want to fuel properly, but I know I'm not going to want to eat, because I already do a lot of endurance stuff, and the last thing I want to do is eat something healthy. You just want like sugar and garbage, it seems. So we're going to progress through that. But I was looking at the plan. I'm like, oh, why am I doing this? This is insane.
Good for you, man. That's a lot of dedication. It's not those 21 days. It's those 5 months before.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's what makes you, right? Like, that's the fun part. That's where you learn some stuff.
You're down for 3 or 4 of those days out of the 21 for
Yeah,
sure.
for sure. Yeah, I'll be driving. But
Yeah, I saw you sent me a thing.
I
You
did,
signed
bro.
up and then you hurt yourself,
did.
and I'm like, oh, don't blame
Yeah.
me for that.
Yeah, so I love that you've taken to running, and I love that it's a thing. That is the last fucking thing that I want to do. Happy to go to the gym, happy to lift weights, but I'm not that guy. I've never enjoyed running. So one of my great friends, she is a great runner and really enjoys it, and she's like, we need to do it. We need to do it this year. Come to a half marathon with me.
Nice.
So I'll do it. I'm going to do it. It's in October. It's going to take a lot of fucking around to get there, but
That's Toronto, right?
I'm going to do it. It's the Toronto
Yeah,
one.
I did Toronto.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
I've done you said the around the bay. I did the 5K one, which again, I mean, my time was atrocious. I was probably
3
like
days.
it was a day and a half. No, I was like a 5K. It took me like 38 minutes or something like that.
But it was wicked. You
did
stopped
it.
at like 14
But I did.
restaurants. On the
Yeah. They got great fries. You run along But no, I think, and I'm with you, man. I think like maybe it's just the age we're at now. I want to try shit. I want to figure it out.
Yeah.
I want to learn about me. I want to just, I want to try shit. So,
Yeah.
and that's, that for me. And like, you say, put in the work and do the work. The other portion of that is like, there's no template for this, man. Like I've heard guys say this worked for me or that worked for me. It's like when you're getting in shape. Maybe it's CrossFit, maybe it's running, maybe it's lifting, maybe it's whatever. There's no one way to do it. Like you can get to your end goal, and like mental health is like that too.
Yeah.
Maybe it is talk therapy, maybe it's group therapy, maybe it's running. Like you just don't
Maybe
know.
it's going to Vegas for 2 weeks. You can lose a lot of weight in 2 weeks in Vegas.
Yeah, you might hit that weight goal. But it is. And so on the mental health side, tips and tricks. I know you said running. What are you still doing to keep your head strong through all this?
To be honest, talking to other people like that are experiencing things is a huge help, because I can share a bit of like my story with them, which is like the whole talk therapy piece. And then listening to what they're going through, because then it just like validates all the work you're actually putting in to better yourself, because there's other people that are trying to do the same thing. And then that's how you meet new people. That's been really helpful for me. Just kind of sharing, again, obviously the running, and then my kids, like I learn so much every day from them. And I used to be, it's like, I used to be like, do it for yourself. Don't just do it for your kids. And now, as I'm doing it for myself, and now it's turning to like, do it for your kids now. Keep pushing. You've done the work. You're good. Now you got to see it through for your children. So there's that piece to it. And to your point too, like there's no, like anything, there's no blueprint. There's no blueprint to get hired as a firefighter, right? Like it took me 10 years to get hired. There's guys that get hired in a year, girls to get hired in a year, 2 years, whatever, right? There's no blueprint to anything in life.
Yeah.
It's literally trial and error, right? That worked, that didn't work. And a lot of people say, oh, all you do is run, blah, 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 it's so bad for you. But if you actually step back and ask me, like, but why do you do it, right? And it's not bad for me. It's actually very good for me. Yeah, I'm sure down the road my joints are going to hurt and all that stuff, but it's going to happen with lifting weights. It's going to happen with picking
mentally,
up my children.
It's changed you. It's changed your life mentally.
Everything.
Yeah.
Everything has changed, and I take a lot of that because of running. But there's no right or wrong way to do any of this stuff. Whatever works for you.
Maybe you mentioned it, but like, why did you stop the podcast? Because like you had some pretty crazy guests, and you did a ton of shows.
Oh, he was great at it too.
Yeah,
like you're good.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Was it just a timing thing, or?
Yeah, part of it. Again, I was still trying to figure out my stuff, and I was learning a lot, but my head, I was coming in and out of it. My head wasn't like all the way in it. By the end, my heart wasn't all the way in it. And then we also had our youngest. And so I used the room that we had at the time in our townhouse. That was the podcast room.
Okay.
So then he took that, and that was just a kitchen table. Like, all right, well, and knowing what I know now, reaching out and asking for help, I should have asked more people like, hey, you got a studio? Hey, you got this? And I could have made it work. And unfortunately, I did the one thing I hate, that whole I don't have time. I don't have time.
Right.
I don't have time because it wasn't important to me. Like, bottom line. At the time, it wasn't important to me. So, but at this other side of that, what was important to me was the birth of my second son and going all in on that. So there's that too. But.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, you were great at it. So you ever want to have those conversations, if you ever want to use the studio, I mean, I hope through this, we're going to make sure that Miles puts up all of your, I wrote it down, the Ryan.runs21 seems to be the tag, right? On
That's what I'm
everything.
using. I really
Yeah.
only use Instagram. It's the only thing
Yeah.
I know how to use.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't really know how to use it. I got a bunch of 30-year-olds on my crew that are like, you need to do this. And then if you post this with a song,
Yeah.
it does this. I'm
The
like,
30-year-olds
no
are the
way.
go-to.
Right?
100%.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
like,
we have like 2 of them. It's great. Yeah, but that's, I mean, we're the guys with the gray hair now, right? Like
Yeah.
that happens in life too, where it's like, oh, we're the ones with the stories now.
Yeah.
Back when I was a boy. Yeah.
Well, when I did the podcast, it was like hashtagging was like the big thing. It was how do you,
Yeah.
I don't know if that's still like, but then I, watched a few videos. Don't worry about hashtags. Don't worry about this. And I'm not even joking. These young guys that I work with, and 30's not like, they're not young, but like it's crazy. They're like, if you go and you click on this video, this audio in the corner of your video, then there's 1 million plus of this song trending. It's who uses it. Then you put it there and you'll pop up. And I did this one time and I got 300 views in like 5 minutes. And I was like, oh, that actually works. And they're like, and you got to use captions. And it doesn't matter if they're spelled incorrectly. Like people they just want to see something. You got to have a hook. I'm like, what's a hook? Like, I don't understand what's happening.
Yeah, you need those people around, man.
You need
Yeah.
Miles.
Shut up,
behind.
Miles. Yeah, and Nate too. Nate's listening.
He's like
too.
30-year-olds. That's like my grandfather.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
we
crazy.
got you have to do that though. And the neat thing is too, is like, even now, this podcasting thing is evolving like crazy. Like it's such a great way to consume media, and it's so readily available
That's the
now.
best.
And like, there's zero barrier to entry. It's just, if you're blessed, you got a great network and some great people to talk to, and then it's a real thing, right?
Yeah.
Happens. It happens quick. What else do you want to talk about, Kozib?
Maybe we should.
What do you want to do? Want to have some fun ones?
Yeah,
We
go
throw
down the
some
path.
questions at you?
Yeah.
What's that?
Do we throw a few fun ones at you that
Yeah,
we didn't
sure.
tell you we were going to ask?
Oh.
Expect the unexpected.
You didn't tell me anything.
So we have a little segment we call Dream Car Garage. So the rules are simple. You have all the money in the world, and you have to own 3 vehicles: the Daily, the Winter Beater, and the Flex. What are you buying?
Oh, wow. I don't know anything about cars, but
That makes it so much better.
yeah.
Some of the answers we get are pretty wild.
Yeah. So, did you say the beater?
Yeah,
So you
go
said?
with the Beater. What's the...
Oh, I got to stick with my last car.
Okay.
The 2008 Nissan
Oh.
Altima.
Good year for the Ultimate.
Oh, I just got rid of it.
Yeah?
I love that thing.
How many kilometers?
280.
Oh, she's a baby.
You see tons of white ones out there.
Had
all the
another
time.
200 in it for sure.
Yo, I guaranteed.
Guaranteed.
What else?
What's the Flex? All the money in the world. What are you buying?
Oh, a Ferrari.
Okay.
There you go.
It's all right.
Okay. And the last one is just a daily. So something that you drive every day.
Every day. Oh man. I like the Pathfinders.
Okay.
Those are nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
The new ones look good.
Okay. Very
I'm so
extremely practical.
I'm so
Nicely
simple.
done. And bonus question, is there one vehicle in particular that you find atrocious, just ugly?
Oh, the newest like Tesla box. Do you guys have? Sorry if you drive.
We are 8 for 8 on that. Kozip just bought one.
Well, ordered it 5 years ago. It's coming February 3rd.
What's it? What is it? It's the
Cybertruck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, spaceship on
well,
wheels.
What a
congrats!
great answer.
Congrats.
Yeah, we're really happy for him.
Yeah.
We're really happy.
Apparently,
for
it's going to be the least stolen vehicle in Ontario,
well.
anyways.
him. So why don't let's do everybody's favorite segment.
Yeah.
Should we do it?
Yeah.
Okay. So this one, I sprung it on you late, but we ask our guests, what's your favorite dad joke?
Okay, so this one, well, my kids love it, and I don't even think it's funny, but we're gonna go with it because I tried to. I wanted to get some jokes from them, but they wouldn't give me any. So there's this. I just change the names all the time to tell them like weekly this joke. Okay, so there's this guy named Steve, and he's got a truck full of penguins, and he's taking them to the zoo. So he's driving along, and his truck breaks down on the side of the road with the truckload of penguins. So he's waiting for a tow truck. He's standing there, and like an hour later, his buddy Rick comes driving down the road, and he pulls up beside him in his truck. And he says, "Hey, Steve, what are you doing?" He says, "I'm taking these penguins to the zoo, but my truck broke down." So Rick says, "Okay, well, I'll do it for you." So he loads all the penguins in his truck, and off Rick goes. A couple hours later, He comes back down the road, and Steve's still on the side of the road with a broken down truck. And Rick pulls up, and Steve says, "What are you doing here with the penguins?" And Rick he says, "I thought you were taking them to the zoo." And Rick says, "I did, and then they got bored, so I took them to dinner and a movie."
I had to think about it for a second.
I like I'm picturing him in his lumberjack plaid telling a joke about penguins.
It's pretty good, I
as
think.
we fight the Canadian
Like,
stereotypes.
They always ask, "Tell us the Steve jokes. Tell us whatever name I make up." I'm like, it's not even funny.
That's the best.
That's awesome.
Anything else you want to plug? We're going to make sure we get behind Ryan Runs 21.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Anything we should know about Benevolent? Anything coming up in the coming months we can get behind?
Yeah, we're planning a couple walks, so look for us out and about. We're going to do a few walks just around, like from headquarters. We'll go down Maple, across Lakeshore, back up Brant, and that's just going to be about like just firefighters out in the community promoting wellness. And then from there, that'll grow into a boot drive. It's going to go Fortino's New Street to Fortino's Appleby in Dundas, because my best buddy, remember Kyle Robb?
Yeah.
He owns Appleby in Dundas Fortino's.
Oh, good for him, man.
So that's about a 6K walk. So we're going to be walking from one end to the other, and then we'll do a boot drive and a barbecue outside, and we're going to do a muscular dystrophy barbecue, boot drive, and then we'll do a breast cancer in October, and then we'll do a Movember one. So those 3 walks. We're thinking about bringing back the calendar, so stay tuned for that. I don't know.
Yeah,
if
Fireman
we're going to do
calendar.
that yet.
Yeah.
And then obviously the Movember hockey. Like, we got a ton of stuff. So we just had our meeting, myself and the other gentleman that helps me with it. So we're getting ready to get going, golf tournament. So stay tuned for that. And then, yeah, follow me on Instagram. It's ryan.runs21. You can watch all the training I'm doing and the silly videos, and the donation page link will be there on February 3rd. And then come out and run if you want, which I'm running with a guy on Sunday. Like, people are starting to actually answer me.
That's cool.
Yeah, there's a guy that's going to come out and run Sunday. Another guy next week's going to come out. And so people are catching on too with that piece of like, yes, I'm going to raise money for youth mental health. But by me saying come out and run, there's that whole build a community, that whole build a tribe, that whole mental health piece. Like, just come out.
And
We don't
who
have to talk.
knows what that turns
Come
into,
out and
right?
run.
Like
Yeah.
that could really turn into something that you just weren't expecting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Super cool.
You should get this idiot to drive behind you in his ugly truck
Yeah,
with your Instagram on the side.
I'll roll back the topper on the back
Yeah.
and just be sitting there, and it'll be self-driving
that's
itself.
funny.
People
That's too
booing
funny.
and shit. It'll be great.
I got a question, and I'll go on like the light side of stuff. So like as a firefighter, obviously you've seen some like absolutely crazy stuff, like gory stuff you try and forget. But like, what's one of the funniest or like most hilarious situations or things that you might have seen that you could let us know?
Oh, man. I
I know people probably ask you the opposite, and like that's what my buddies always get asked. They never get asked like, "Hey, what's the most hilarious thing that's happened to you?"
I'm just trying to think if anything like stands out for me.
Or like one you'll never forget, and it doesn't have to be something that was like horrible.
No one gets hurt, but when we like, some guys fall down, some girl like walking and you just fall off the truck or trip over a curb, you got hoses on your back and stuff like that. As long as you're not hurt, that's kind of funny to watch. Stuff like that. But yeah, I can't think anything that like really stands out. And then the smells you get where like you're almost going to vomit at times.
Yeah.
It's humorous. to
And then
watch
when you get
somebody,
home,
like,
you just gotta.
fight back a puke.
When you get home, you just shut that switch off, and you got to be in dad mode again.
I guess, yeah. And I think, but to your point, like shut it off. But yeah, there's sometimes I got to actually like work through it. And that's that whole mental health piece because I shut it off for a long time.
Yeah.
And that kind of bit me in the butt a little bit. So yeah.
And it is crazy hearing the different like good buddies that are in Hamilton. Then like my two best buddies are like Toronto and Brampton, and just hearing the differences in like what those cities all deal with, and especially Burlington, because like very different than what
Completely.
those guys are dealing with. But like hearing the difference in what everybody thinks, like, firefighters, like they just go deal with like, a car accident on the road or somebody's house is on fire. It's like that's not even like a quarter of what you guys deal with, and like some of the shit that you guys see is pretty crazy.
Yeah, we go to everything.
Yeah.
And the goal is just to help people,
Yeah.
not make it worse. Do the best we can. That's really just the goal, I think, in life. Just do the best you can, right?
Yeah.
And I don't want to, I sit here and talk about my kids a lot and like making them resilient, talking about feelings. And I don't want that to come across as like trying to raise, softer generation. It's just all about trying to raise kids, or my kids personally, to be stronger mentally. Like to talk about your feelings, because it's only going to help make you better. and stronger. It doesn't make you softer. And it took me a long time to learn that. And when I figured that out, that it's okay, that whole it's okay to not be okay, then everything actually truly started to kind of fall into place. And I will say, like, do not be afraid to ask for help. Do not be afraid. And you will be surprised at the people that come and help you. And I shared the video of this the other day. When I first realized, like, okay, I need help, I called a guy at work and said, hey, can you give me so-and-so's phone number? We work together. He's a bunch of years sober, but we've never really spoken. I'm at this time like 8 years on the job. And we'd cross paths, different platoons. And so I phoned him out of the blue and said, hey, Ryan, I need your help. He showed up the next day and he went to AA with me. That was the first person that walked through the doors with me. Someone I barely ever talked to. So like that in itself is powerful. You just never know who's actually going to be there. And that goes back to everything ties in nicely. We talked about the circle, the tribe. If you reach out, you'd be surprised at who you get. It might not be your quote unquote best friend.
And surprised who you don't get.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You want to know who your real friends are? Start an Instagram account at 41 years old and do 21 half marathons over 21 straight days and make a complete ass of yourself online. You'll find out who your friends are.
Still supports
I'd like to apologize for some of my comments on that.
Yeah. No, but like that's why the people that are commenting, liking, those are the people that care.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah. Cool. Well, this was fun, man. Can we I want to do this again. I want to do it a little bit closer to your event. I want to pump the tires on that a little bit more.
Sure.
And I just want to keep the dialogue open about what this does for your mental health and what it does for, you know.
Hopefully that was helpful.
Yeah.
Kind of
great,
ramble
man.
I'm all over the place.
No.
I'm hoping you got 25, 30 people that are joining you in every one of these runs by that point.
Yeah.
Like, that'd be a cool story to hear.
Yeah. So far, I should really, next level, I should maybe start like a sign up sheet, like an Excel sheet that's linked that I'm tracking, like someone that says, hey, I'm interested, like a friend of a friend. I write their name down. So I'm going to circle back and be like, remember you said you wanted to do this with me?
And you can do that right on your LinkedIn account, like in the profile. You can have like a link to something.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and use a calendar. If your runs are that scheduled, then just share a calendar. Say, here's my link. Here's where my runs start on what time.
Oh, okay.
Day.
That's smart. Yeah, that's
People
my hope.
get behind it.
That's what I want to do is say like Monday, 1:00, I'm starting out front of the YMCA in Grimsby and I'm going this way, this many kilometers, and I'm turning back. Finish here. It's always going to be like out and backs too. Like if people are going to come, park your car, we'll go. I want to do one like Niagara Falls, right? That'll be good for nice photos and stuff like that. So I'm going to structure that. Because again, I literally, this was December 20th or 24th. I'm going to do this. And I just went all in. And now we're a month later.
If you do one here that's like 3-4 blocks long, like we're for sure.
Yeah,
on.
100%.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It's just about coming out. I'll run North Shore. North Shore's a good run.
Yeah,
Starbucks is only like
Great.
3 blocks, so like
Yeah.
we're good for that.
Yeah, I'm in for that. Yeah, so let's take this conversation offline though too, because I want to help.
Right on, man. Appreciate you coming
Yeah,
in.
thanks
Thanks
for
so
having
much.
me.
Appreciate
Hopefully
you,
it
man.
was helpful.
We'll do it again soon.